I urge you, each of you, to do your bit for your people, for their children, and for the planet they will inherit. Go meat free one day. Thank you.
So we three urge MEPs to respond to the expert opinions expressed here and encourage them to show a lead by consuming less meat. We call on these governments, and all represented at Copenhagen and in subsequent discussions, to adjust their agriculture, development, environment and public health policies to reflect the role of livestock production in climate change. We call on the local authorities and municipalities in Europe and worldwide to adopt the principle of a meat-free day for their employees. And we call on people worldwide, but especially in the developed nations, to change their diet to one meat-free day as the most effective way to combat global warming.
The threat from climate change is serious, it is urgent, and it is growing.
Probleme sind gewaltig. Jeden Tag sterben weltweit etwa 150 Tier- und Pflanzenarten aus.
Rising sea levels threaten every coastline.
As a nation made up of over 7,000 islands, rising seas due to global warming take on a whole new meaning.
More powerful storms and floods threaten every continent.
Disasters like Malacca is not that unusual now. So we have to be prepared for the worst.
More frequent droughts and crop failures.
A few years ago in Zimbabwe, we would be able to predict when the first rain will fall. But today, rains are not predictable. They fall anytime, and when they do, people are swept away.
On shrinking islands, families are already being forced to flee their homes as climate refugees.
Our islands are just 1 meter above sea level, and the impacts of the greenhouse emissions are killing our people.
Methane is also a big part of the issue. Livestock farming, particularly the industrial feedlot operations, and when you hear people say that industrial livestock farming is a big part of global warming, they're absolutely right.
We know that short-lived carbon forcers like methane contribute significantly to the warming of our planet, and because they are short-lived, they also give us an opportunity to make rapid progress if we work to limit them.
I've been seeing as a state senator the environmental cost of livestock production. It's a source of pollutants and toxic contamination, nitrogen runoff, as well as a major contributor to greenhouse gas emissions.
It's much easier to think it's all the fault of, coal miners or a power station a long way away. We can all focus the blame somewhere else and just say, government's got to make that change over there, rather than think about, oh well, actually, we've got to make some change ourselves. We've got to reduce the amount of animal products we consume, and we can do it now. We don't have to wait for government to do anything.
Regular citizens can do all kinds of things. Just make smart choices about the kinds of products that they buy.
Fresh fruits and vegetables, organic food, and we believe that people are given an abundance of healthy choices, they will make the right choice.
Because I know that environmentally it's the right thing to do. I know in terms of health it's the right thing to do, and ethically it's the right thing to do.
By making this small change in our family's diet and adding more fresh fruits and vegetables, Barack, the girls, me, we all started to notice over a very short period of time that we felt much better and we had more energy.
And really inducing all the people to go vegetarian, to be vets, go green, to save the planet.
This is the moment now to limit and reverse the climate change we are inflicting on future generations. Not later, not at another conference, not in a later decade.
Salvar el planeta es salvarnos, salvar nuestras vidas y de todos los seres vivientes.
This is a new, fresh dynamics which we must seize. I sincerely hope that we can seize this momentum.
I think if all the governments of all the countries will work together to promote the meatless style of living, it will definitely will save the planet.
Eat veg, go green, save our planet.
Children today have the advantage of having more foods available than ever before. We know more about nutrition than ever before, but unfortunately, sometimes what children actually eat is not as healthful as it should be. And that's because there are also more unhealthy foods available than ever before. So we need to really help them. So what to eat and what to avoid? The foods that are healthful for children, I think of them as being in 4 groups. We refer to these as the new 4 food groups: vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and the bean group, or you might call it the legume group: beans, peas, and lentils. These 4 groups together provide plenty of protein. They provide plenty of calcium and iron. They are very rich in vitamins and in minerals and lots of healthy fiber. They don't have any animal fat. They don't have cholesterol. They are a good recipe for good health. The most important thing, though, for children is not just to eat foods that keep them healthy while they're children, but it's to learn good health habits, good eating habits that they can carry with them into adulthood. If children learn healthy eating right from the start, they carry a wonderful gift with them, and they're better able to take care of their own families when they're adults. Well, I have to say, some of the very foods that I grew up with are perhaps the most important things to set aside. Meats, dairy products, eggs. These foods have cholesterol, they have animal fat, and these foods cause a lot of problems. First of all, these foods are linked to heart problems. If you could look inside the arteries of a typical American boy or girl, before they've finished high school, many of them have the beginnings of heart disease already. They're only 15 or 16 years of age, but because of all the meat, cheese, other dairy products, and eggs they've been eating, unfortunately, their arteries are starting to get clogged. Over the long run, though, these same foods increase the risk of cancer, particularly breast cancer, prostate cancer, and colon cancer. These things are much less likely to happen on people who are following totally plant-based diets. And what has the children themselves worried, and their parents worried, is that kids who eat a meaty diet tend to be heavier than other kids. Now, many well-meaning parents will say, we want our children to drink milk or eat meat. What they're thinking of is maybe this will help their kids to grow taller or to be stronger. But I have to say, researchers have looked at this very question. And children who eat meat and dairy products are not any taller than other kids. What they are is wider than other kids, meaning they are more likely to be overweight. Researchers have looked at thousands of children and shown that those children who grow up on a totally vegan diet, meaning a diet with no animal products at all, they're just as tall and healthy as other kids. In fact, they are healthier, but they're more likely to stay in a good, healthy body weight. In many countries throughout North America, South America, and particularly today throughout Asia, we are seeing an explosion in meat intake, in dairy consumption, and so that means more and more farms are springing up, and the population overall is less healthy than it was when more healthful plant-based diets were the norm. If this trend continues, what we will see is not only more influenza outbreaks, we'll see more heart disease, much more cancer, and shorter lifespans. What this means really is a tragedy. that people who wanted to live a long, healthy life and to bring up their children to be able to live in as healthful a way as possible will never be able to realize that dream. And it's because we bought into foods that have lurking in them cholesterol, animal fat, and other problems that really can exact a terrible price that nobody was counting on in advance. Let me also say a word for parents, teachers, other people who are involved in schools. Schools have sometimes had trouble really serving the most healthful foods. Many of them have perhaps had a misimpression that they need to give children milk in school or need to give them meat. Schools in the United States and some other places on the globe are now featuring healthy, completely vegan meals for children because they realize that when you don't provide the milk and the meat, kids do much better. They're healthier. They're less likely to come up with infections. I'm thinking about things like ear infections, asthma, and other problems. They are more likely to stay in a healthy weight, and they are less likely to fall asleep in the afternoon. I have to say, when kids get a big, greasy, sugary meal, it's pretty hard for them to stay awake in the afternoon. It's hard for them to concentrate. And on the other hand, when children are fed the most healthful meals, they have the energy and the attention span to carry them all the way through the day. So in conclusion, when we think about our children, they are our most precious resource. And unfortunately, the pressures on parents, on teachers, and on the kids themselves are more intense than they've ever been. There are more and more businesses out there trying to sell unhealthy food, and we can understand why that is. But to the extent that we can put healthy foods on children's plates, if we can have policies in our government, if we can have practices in our schools that every child, no matter how disadvantaged, has the ability to have a healthful meal, every single day, we are going to be investing in the health of the next generation.
I'd like to talk to you today about what an impact nutritional excellence can make for you and people around the world. We can win the war against disease. We can have healthier nations. Right now, we are spreading American fast food companies and processed foods are spreading all over the world. And people are becoming more overweight, more obese, having more heart attacks, more diabetes, more strokes, and even more cancer. The good news is that nutritional science has advanced to the point where we can have people not have heart attacks. We can win the war against cancer. We can stop people from having strokes. And as they become more elderly, they don't have to become demented in their later years. And have healthy populations with low medical costs, with a dramatically more successful and happier population without the fear of these diseases. And what we've learned, the secrets that we've learned to protect ourselves, have to do with nutrients. And there are two types of nutrients. There are macronutrients, and the macronutrients contain calories, and those are called fat, carbohydrate, and protein. And if you eat too many macronutrients, too much fat, too much carbohydrate, and too much protein, we can become overweight, and we can promote aging and promote heart attacks and strokes. Now, food also contains micronutrients, and micronutrients do not contain calories. They're things like vitamins and minerals and phytochemicals. About 80 years ago, in 1930, scientists first discovered 14 vitamins and about 20 different minerals, and everybody said, wow, this is great. We can help people live longer and help people be much healthier. And what happened between 1935 and 2005 is that heart attack rates went up all over the world, stroke rates went up, and cancer rates went up every single year for 70 years straight. We didn't realize until about 15 years ago that the third type of micronutrients, called phytochemicals, were missing, because the third type of micronutrients, called phytochemicals, are not found in processed foods, and they're not found in animal products, but they're found in fruits and vegetables. So when we thought that we could take processed foods and add a few vitamins and minerals to it, or take a vitamin supplement and think we're getting enough, we were mistaken, Because now we know that every tomato